Hi, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Kelsey. We're into telling you stories. Sometimes funny, sometimes awkward, sometimes creepy or sad, but who knows?
Every month it's different, but no matter what, you'll be asking yourself.
Okay, WTF?
Welcome, friends.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Well, as of this moment that people are listening to this recording, it will be in the new year.
Yes.
So a little bit into the new year. So doing great. I am.
We have time traveled.
Yes, we're time traveling, but I am. What's the word for it when you're trying to like make it true for yourself?
Like you're trying to like the secret
manifest.
Manifest.
I'm manifesting that I'm great when this episode airs. Otherwise, as of actual today, doing okay, hanging in there.
All right.
How are you?
Well, when this airs, I will have many million more dollars. What else can I bring towards myself? Happiness, healthiness, everything is great and everyone is great. And there's world peace, actually.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that you added that in there because right now, as of today, that is not even close. But manifesting that for everyone in the new year, for sure.
I think all it took was me just requesting it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're right. So I'm going to hold out hope for that. And I'll ride the coattails of it.
Perfect.
of that request. Yeah. I feel like, you know, we'll be a couple episodes after the holidays at this point, and I can't even believe as of right now recording this that literally the Christmas is just a few days away, which is nuts.
Yeah, December and November went way too fast.
But I'm so glad that we got to see you guys have some time towards Boston together, and looking forward to some New Year's fun together. So, things to look forward to. But all that to say, the other thing we have to look forward to right now is a couple stories.
What?
And this is back to, we've now gotten back to our regular episodes and things, although we've been talking about some opportunities.
Yes,
for
some fun ones. Some
additional fun ones. So kind of be on the lookout here. So this is a regular episode, if you will.
This is like an OG.
An OG. It's definitely an OG. And this one, oh my gosh. I had never heard of this before. And it's, all right, vibe check.
Okay.
The vibes are creepy, freaky, inappropriate, weird, funny, pathetic, like all over the map.
Are we talking about the same thing? Because mine are all of those too.
According to your lovely partner, we are not, but
we'll find out.
Maybe they're related. Because sometimes I find that our stories are like not the same story, but in a similar.
Yeah, they're like cousins of each other.
Yeah. So today, my story, I have a bunch of great resources from the Toronto archives. From Jamie Bradburn of the Torontoist. I
like Torontoist more.
I can't speak. Ian Brown from the Globe and Mail, Paul Malvern from Spacing Magazine, and Natalie Akram from Blog TO or Blog Toronto. Also Wikipedia, of course.
So this takes place in Mexico.
Yes, absolutely. Toronto, Mexico.
Perfect.
Good call out, because some people might not know that the Toronto I'm speaking about is in Canada, in fact. Yes, so our friendly neighbors to the north. This is a big WTF. It's kind of like a quirky subplot from a sitcom in some ways, but it's real life. It's an actual event in history, and it really focuses on babies, bequests, and unintended consequences.
Okay.
Yes. Any ideas yet?
Nope.
Perfect. Let's set the stage. It's the 1920s. People are wearing flapper dresses. The air is abuzz with jazz tunes. And the talk of the town in Toronto is about a millionaire named Charles Vance Millar. Do you know him?
I don't. I'm not familiar.
Never heard of him in your life?
No. Was he really good at the Charleston?
Probably not.
Oh, man.
Honestly. So Millar wasn't really your run-of-the-mill rich guy. He was much more, he was, but he wasn't. He was the kind of guy who found joy in pranks and jokes, but kind of in the worst way, as you'll find out. And really, as a parting gift to the beloved Toronto, he decided to stir up some posthumous laughter with a will that left the city dumbfounded and steeped in controversy. So let's talk about Charles Vance Millar first. Who was he? He was born in 1853, and he was a Canadian lawyer and financier. He co-owned a brewery called O'Keefe Brewery. Okay. And he was really well known for his eccentricity and unconventional sense of humor. He hailed from Port Perry, Ontario, and he wasn't, just known for his professional acumen, but also just this peculiar will that he left. He was an avid sports follower, and he even owned several race horses during his time. That becomes important, sort of. As you'll see in the death document, he's pretty tenacious, I guess. Oh, gosh, it's so weird. On Halloween Day in 1926, he unexpectedly died of a stroke at age 73 while he was working in his law office. In his legal career, he exhibited a sharp mind. He gained prominence in Toronto's financial circles. But this unexpected death in 1926 caused a really weird situation because he left behind this will. So basically, a lot of people call it a posthumous prank, but he devised a series of really quirky bequests from his will that would really only take effect a decade after his passing, or like in very specific ways. Yeah. So, according to an article by Peter Prescar from Short History, Millar was a very intelligent and peculiar individual who never married and had no children. During his lifetime, Millar accumulated substantial wealth and decided to use it for this one last prank. Apparently, Millar stated at one point, "I will make sex the most popular sport in Canada for the next 10 years," shortly before he passed.
What?
Mm-hmm. You never heard of this?
No, never.
So one of his most notorious bequests was the stipulation that the bulk of his substantial estate would go to the one woman in Toronto who could give birth to the most children within that 10-year period. Yeah. And as a child-free human, this totally freaks me out, honestly. Yeah. Like, I can think of like the whole carbon footprint and like the sheer disregard for the planet, but like, clearly, he was not an environmental activist.
Right.
And let me move through some images here. Okay. There's my sources. We've got Toronto on some of these images during the 1920s. Lots of black and white images showing people bustling around the city. A flapper girl coming off of like a bus. The harbor area. What it looked like at that point. And then we've got the lovely Charles here on the left receiving a trophy. And then on the right, a copy of his last will and testament. That is the subject of today. His intention to generate a blend of confusion, amusement, and social commentary posthumously really achieved just that, but a lot of controversy ensued. But in this legal document, his will, buried amidst the legalese was that gem of absurdity, where he was basically like, pop out the most babies in these next 10 years, the merrier the inheritance, essentially. Before we continue on, I'm going to take a brief aside here to delve a little deeper into Millar's character, because not only did he leave money to women, or initially the one woman who could pop out as many babies in 10 years, but he also left several other strange bequests that are outlined in the Wikipedia article that I found. And before I talk through those, he did also write a statement about his will within his will, which I'll read first. So, This will is necessarily uncommon and capricious because I have no dependents or near relations, and no duty rests upon me to leave any property at my death. And what I do leave is proof of my folly in gathering and retaining more than I required in my lifetime. Weird guy. All right. So here's another few of his strange bequests before we dive into the other one. The main source of today's, at least. So 3 men who were known to despise each other were granted joint lifetime tenancy in Millar's vacation home in Jamaica on the condition that they lived together on the property. Amazing.
Okay.
Nothing like bringing people that hate each other together, right?
Yeah.
So also to each practicing Protestant minister in Toronto and every Orange Lodge in Toronto, a share of O'Keefe Brewery stock, a Catholic business, if they participated in its management and drew on its dividends. So good. Okay. Two anti-horse racing advocates and a man who detested the Ontario Jockey Club were to receive a share of Ontario Jockey Club stock, provided they are shareholders in 3 years. 2 of the people, their shares they gave to charity, and the one who just detested the Ontario Jockey Club accepted his share.
Of course.
Of course. And then another fun one. Each duly ordained Christian minister in Walkerville, Sandwich, and Windsor, except Spracklin, who shot a hotel keeper, was to receive a share of the Kenilworth Park racetrack, located just outside Windsor, Ontario. Really gives you insight into who he was. He was pretty sassy, if you can't tell. Yes. So back to this other stuff, though, which I didn't tell you, but it was this whole like 10-year baby popping situation was dubbed the Great Stork Derby.
Oh my God.
So back to the Great Stork Derby. So, really Toronto's women suddenly found themselves contestants in a very unexpected race.
Yeah.
It was like a real life baby making reality show, but of course, without the scripted drama. But as the news spread, neighborhoods turned into nurseries, women strategically planned pregnancies, turning their cribs into potential gold mines. It was a spectacle, and Toronto was the backdrop. So, of course, life is not a sitcom, and things got messy. Mm-hmm. Lots of legal battles ensued as some participants questioned the legitimacy of Millar's absurd will. Lawyers were honestly probably just scratching their heads trying to figure out if a will crafted as a joke could really hold up in a courtroom. But as the years ticked by, the Great Stork Derby went from this ridiculous competition to a legal circus. So some of the people who were trying to compete in this were entangled in a lot of courtroom drama, debating a lot of the fine print of the millionaire's sense of humor, things that were outlined in the will. 11 families ultimately competed in the baby race, like were qualified to compete.
Okay.
7 of them were ultimately disqualified. Eventually, Judge William Edward Middleton ruled in favor of 4 mothers: Anne Catherine Smith, Kathleen Ellen Nagel, Lucy Alice Timleck, and Isabel Mary McLean. And each of them received about, at that point, $110,000 for their 9 children, which is about $2 million in today's money.
That's insane.
Yes. So on the screen here, we've got some of those final contestants and some of them with their families. We've got some of the 9 children on here. Yeah, it's just the contenders taking their photos. There's a lot of photos you can look up online too, just to see who was participating. But during this time, the news went wild in Toronto and the surrounding areas, trying to make sense of this unique baby boom. Essentially, it sparked a baby boom. And even pubs kind of got the humor of it all because one of them made a specific beer called the Stork Derby Stout. And I thought that was really clever marketing. So good.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
So the Great Stork Derby officially wrapped up in 1938, and Toronto was left with this kind of peculiar legacy. And Charles Vance Millar from beyond the grave managed to leave the city not just with a baby boom, but long-lasting legal headaches. And today, Toronto reflects the echoes of the Great Stork Derby. the event is kind of tucked away in the corners of history. It's not super well known. Still, people don't really know about it, except for more recently, in the early 2000s, there was a movie called The Great Stork Derby, and it starred a Canadian actress, Megan Follows. That's really the story. It's a not so typical baby race. But man, it made me say, okay, WTF. This is probably my shortest story, but I do have one little clip. Oh, and here's on the screen, I've got some newspaper article clippings from the time. Baby competition enters final year. 4-way division and stork derby. Dark horse and baby derby reported to be mother. Like, and then I have a little clipping of that beer that was kind of marketed during this time, which I thought was so funny. The
10
stout.
children. 10 children. Pretty. Sorry, this is what the subheading. Pretty redheaded Mrs. X has given birth to 10 children. Shuns publicity. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, pretty gross. But I do also have a little clip to play from the Associated Press about like that time. So I'm gonna play that because I just thought it was so interesting. And like, obviously, we always link out to the presentation in the show notes. So don't miss out on that. Make sure that you go and check it out. But it's a little news reel, if you will, from the archives, the Associated Press archives. I'm going to try to play this. Let's see.
Their object a petition to aid their town, a worthy one. So here's the very best of luck to them, every one. An incident in the Stork Derby. One family of hopefuls goes to call at the home of a rival entry. The Nagel children, 9 of them, visit the same number of Timlocks. Mr. Miller, a confirmed bachelor, left $750,000, £155,000 in our money, to the Toronto mother who should have the most babies in the 10 years following his death. This has led to a baby race among various families. But the real beneficiaries are the lawyers who are already, with the closing date of October the 31st, getting down to the job of contesting claims.
Well, Mr. Timlick, when we get our families together, they make quite a house for us.
The fathers, of course, only enjoy the reflection of glory, but expect to enjoy more than the reflection of money. And if a lot of people regard the whole business as crazy and unedifying, you and I may be inclined to agree with them.
So, fascinating. But there's some really interesting...
Their object a petition to aid their town. So,
okay.
Horrifying.
Yeah, it's just like really wild. It was just really wild. The fact that it was real shocked me, and I was like, this is absolutely okay, WTF worthy. So anyway, now you know about the Great Stork Derby as well. Maybe someday we'll meet descendants of it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, we probably already have.
It's totally possible.
Oh my God.
Imagine though, like knowing that you came to be, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter why anyone's here, but like, it just would be such a weird thing to like.
Yeah. An eccentric man's will.
Yeah.
Gave you life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, in my will, I'll make sure there's no like baby making provisions, but y'all better be ready. Like a decade
it better be good.
After there's gonna be some shenanigans because I'm eccentric, but also not rich. I'll get creative. Yeah.
You gotta get some people that hate each other together, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, no, that would be good.
Yeah, that was so funny when I saw that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, his vacation home!" But like, yeah, too good. It was too good, too good. So clever man, but also kind of gross.
And I love ending anything with a good transatlantic accent. Can't really beat it. Welcome here to Toronto in the year 1927.
Oh man, so good. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few AP Associated Press archives, like with little things from it. So if that really struck your fancy, go check it out, everybody.
I'm gonna have to now. Another rabbit hole for me to trip and fall headlong into.
We love it. We love it. So
Speaking
what do you got
of tripping,
for me? Yeah.
Speaking of tripping, we're going to trip all the way back to a really weird period in the 9th century. So we're in the Dark Ages. I don't know how much you remember from like any history courses of elementary school or high school or college from the Dark Ages, but things were pretty dark, at least in terms of like Western European times, less so in other regions of the world. But I went to Catholic school and we learned basically religion and history were one and the same. So I had known about this for a while. I haven't jumped down that rabbit hole. But when we started this podcast, I knew this would be one of the ones that I would be bringing out. And it's good that you did a short one to begin with.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately mine is long because I have to like go through tangents to make everything make sense. So I apologize, audience, dear listeners, if I lose you. I understand. I'm going to be throwing dates out there. Just, your eyes can glaze over, not if you're driving or operating heavy machinery. But just get ready. We're in for a ride. It's a little crazy.
Reference the slideshow if you are not driving.
Yeah.
And you can pull it right up on your phone, and that way you can see all the images and like, what Mike is referencing. It helps ground you a little because it helps me with the visuals. So
absolutely. So we'll go over my story sources. I have a few here, of course, starting with Wikipedia. You see something there called the Cadaver Synod. And that is what we're going to be talking about. Have you ever heard of that term before?
No.
All right. Well, it will be burned into your mind. And I don't think you'll be able to forget it because the vibes, like yours, weird. And yes, involves a cadaver of some kind. And very like weird is the best term. Yeah, sketchy vibes. And we have JSTOR. They're kind of like articles .org. I have a source from there. I have Atlas Obscura, National Geographic. You got to always have one of those in there. And of course, good old historybones.com, where we're talking about history and bones.
Oh my God, I love it.
We have a book, History of the Popes, #1. We have a few more Wikipedia articles. Chronicle of Ivan the Terrible and Arnulf of Carinthia. Have you ever heard of either of those? Ivan
the Terrible, yeah. Never.
Yes.
Arnulf.
Arnulf.
Yeah.
Then we have 2 more books that I have, and they deal with the Dark Ages. The Inheritance of Rome by Charles Wickham and Rome in the Dark Ages. I should say my particular expertise in history that I went to school for is kind of ancient civilizations and cultures, so anthropology. Unfortunately, I've had to learn a lot more contemporary history because of recent things, but I do know some smatterings of Dark Ages and Middle Ages and all that stuff, and this is one of the weirder ones. So like I said, we're heading headlong into the 9th century, a time marked by political turmoil within the Roman Catholic Church and the reign of one Pope Formosus, a figure whose actions would lead to an unprecedented trial. Dun dun. That was my Law and Order. So,
I'm also just sitting here thinking, like, when is the Catholic Church not in a quagmire? But
interesting. Definitely during this period they were.
Okay.
Our story has 2 main dudes that we're going to rely on, and then there's some side characters that are thrown in there that I'll have to unfortunately talk about. The first is Pope Formosus. He was born around 816 CE. His birth name was Giovanni, and he was born in Rome and emerged as a prominent figure within the Roman Catholic Church during a pretty crazy period. And his life was marked by influential roles within the church, like hierarchy and significant contributions to church affairs, blah, 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 all the boring stuff. So on our first slide, we have a woodcut engraving of Pope Formosus. I love the hairdo.
Wow. It's a choice.
Certainly, it's kind of like a tonsure. Have you ever heard of that? That's kind of like the older style where they're bald on the top, usually worn by monks, and then they have like the hair around them on the sides of the scalp. Kind of sort of like that. I don't know if it was chosen or just
it looks intentional.
Pre-Donald Trump, kind of like weird comb over.
Oh,
but missing the mark entirely.
Yeah.
So Formosus rose to the ranks pretty quickly, eventually becoming the Bishop of Porto. And Porto is kind of like Italy. So it's kind of like the area surrounding the ports of Rome. So a lot of commerce was coming in and a lot of trade and things like that. So that job landed him a lot of influence, both within the church and politically. And it's during this time that he formed a friendship with a Frankish Carolingian king named Arnulf of Carinthia, who we will be showing up and meeting with later in our story. But I'm going to jump forward to 891 CE, and there were crazy power struggles and shifting alliances happening within the church. Formosus ascended to the highest position, aka CEO, the papacy. He became the pope. In fact, he picked the name Formosus because in Latin it means well-formed or beautiful. Totally humble guy, though, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, kind of full of himself. Interesting.
Yeah. And his many political alliances that he gained throughout his rise to the church is basically how he got the popehood, as it were. As Pope, Formosus aimed to address internal church reforms, navigate the intricate webs of political intrigue that defined the papacy during that era. He made efforts to assert whatever authority he could and address any controversies that were in the church, including disputes over all church appointments and their jurisdictional powers and stuff like that. What's on the page right now is it's an illustration from the Chronicle of Ivan the Terrible, basically a set of volumes that were like, Russia's great. Everything else that's bad in the world is from other people. And so there were like volumes dedicated to people who screwed up history that they believe. And this is one of them. Pope Formosus meeting a bunch of people.
Interesting.
So Formosus' papacy was not without its challenges and controversies. He faced opposition from rival factions within the church and politically, leading to disputes and accusations of how exactly he became pope. He ended up dying in 896 CE. How can the story be over and he's dead? You'll find out soon. Let's meet our second dude.
All right.
This dude is Pope Stephen VI. His original name was Stephen. So original, right?
So original.
So original. He couldn't be beautiful.
He looks
or
original.
He does. He's a little bit of a cone head. He's got the thing. You can't see his hair. He was elected as Pope in 896 CE, just a few months after Formosus had passed. Stephen's papacy was short-lived, but became notorious for reasons we're going to hear about soon.
I'm scared.
Yeah, you should be. Before his ascent to popedom, Stephen likely held a background within the clergy. There are really no historical records about his early life, that I could find at least. But his papacy itself was marked by his intense animosity towards Formosus. That's basically like one of the only things his popehood is known for.
Wow.
So Stephen hated Formosus and sought to discredit his legacy and authority within the church. Their major beef centered around three things, which I'll get into in here. During the 9th century.
First. Quick question. So he came to popehood after he died, though, right? The first guy.
Yeah. So Formosus died.
Yes.
A few months later, Stephen
He-
VI became
And
pope.
he was still like, I hate him so much. He's so dead though. Okay.
In fact,
Yeah.
he hated him more.
Madness.
How dare you for dying without me killing you? So during the 9th century, like I had mentioned before, the church, the papacy, they were all divided by factions, all vying for power and influence within the church itself. Formosus had been associated with one faction, the Carolingian faction, while Stephen was aligned with another faction. These opposing factions clashed with each other over authority. I'll briefly explain what the Carolingians are for anyone who doesn't know.
I don't know.
Okay, no worries. You're going to know one name for sure from the Carolingians, because this is something I think we all learn in like 4th or 5th grade. So the Carolingians started in the 8th century, and most famous of this line is Charlemagne, most likely.
Okay.
Have you know Charlemagne?
Yes. I couldn't tell you what he did.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can tell you some things.
Please.
Charlemagne was crowned as the Holy Roman Emperor in 800 CE, and that was by Pope Leo III. And his reign was marked by a period of cultural revival known as a Carolingian Renaissance. So it's kind of like a higher point in the Dark Ages of science and art and culture and all that stuff. After Charlemagne's death in 814 CE, his empire faced challenges, both from outside forces and division of where he ruled from his heirs, because he had a bunch of children and they were all fighting for control.
Of course.
So separate kingdoms came out. It kind of weakened the whole central authority of the Holy Roman Empire. Totally understood if I've lost some people now. But we're going to jump to Formosus's friendship and alliance with Arnulf of Carinthia, who I mentioned before, who is a direct descendant of Charlemagne. And he wanted to be king of Italy over the king that it already had, named Charles the Bald. And Charles the Bald, who was crowned in 875 CE. So Charles the Bald was also another side shoot of an heir of Charlemagne. And those two were both fighting for each other. And Formosus was like, I got your back, Arnulf, over Charles the Bald, because who wants a bald king? I don't know. So that's number one. That's number one reason why Stephen hated him, because Stephen didn't like Arnulf or the Carolingian line. 2, both Formosus and Stephen had ambitions for papal authority and sought to increase their own influence with the church. And this led to power struggles between them, and each of them kind of divided into their own camps and tried to consolidate their power base and weaken each other's authority, like a really crappy game of chess, I guess.
Put men in power, and this is what you got.
I'm telling you, you get men with funny hats. And number 3, popehood during that time was subject to really tense elections and claims of illegitimacy. So everyone was like, you can't be pope because you didn't do the things right.
You didn't wear the hat right.
You didn't wear the hat right, and it was the wrong smoke, and God brought an earthquake, so you can't be pope at all. Yeah. There were allegations that Formosus had violated church laws in his rise to the papacy, which fueled Stephen's antagonism towards him. Basically, a few years after Formosus was named Bishop of Porto, he became besties with another political person named Boris I. He ruled over Bulgaria at the time. Boris wanted Formosus to become archbishop in Bulgaria, but the current pope at the time, Nicholas I, was like, nah, bro can only shepherd one flock at a time. Like, you can't be in Porto and Bulgaria at the same time. So 10 years later, there was another new pope, because they were popping like flies.
Oh my God.
Here and after, John VIII was gunning for Formosus because he was friends with Boris. He was friends with Arnulf and all that crap. John accused Formosus of turning the Bulgarians against the church because Boris wanted Formosus or no one there. So Boris was like, if your name isn't Formosus, we don't want you
Oh my God. Well, then it's definitely just him because I don't think there's another Formosus just hanging out there.
Nah, not that to my knowledge. I don't think so. He also accused Formosus and his Carolingian faction of trying to overthrow John himself, the Pope, and usurp the papacy and the throne of Italy. As a result, John had them excommunicated, and then once John the Eighth, the Pope, died in 879 CE, Formosus slid back in and was like, Porto, you miss me? And resumed his role as bishop.
Oh my gosh.
So we're back from that tangent of 3 reasons why Stephen hated Formosus. And all of this is important to understanding where we're heading. And we're almost there, I promise.
No, it's okay. I have one question about
yes.
popehood. Is really the only way, if you become a pope, is the only way to not be a pope really to die? Or could you be like removed?
Well, we don't really have much history of popes being removed in ways that aren't death. But we do have, we had, what's his name? I think it was Ratzinger or something like that. I forget what his pope name was. But he basically was like, I'm done with this. So he stepped himself down. And that's how we got our current pope.
Interesting.
Yes.
I don't pay much attention to the pope news, so thanks for clearing that up.
I usually don't. I don't anymore. But
you're like I had to when I was in Catholic school.
I had to kindergarten through senior year of high school.
Oh my God.
So we did the 3 things. In 892 CE, Formosus appointed a guy named Lambert of Spoleto as co-ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. Previously, Lambert's father, whose name was Guy III, had received a similar coronation by John VIII, the pope that I just mentioned had died. However, Guy was kind of acting really aggressive to other people in the world, started like invading lands and stuff like that didn't need to be. So because Formosus was concerned about Guy's assertiveness, he extended an invitation to Arnulf of Carinthia to intervene in Italy and assume the imperial title. Arnulf's attempt to invade was unsuccessful, even though he had the backing of the Pope at the time. Shortly afterward, Guy III passed away. And then a little bit later, Formosus again tried to get Arnulf to come to Italy. And in 896, he finally did. He crossed the Alps, reached Rome, and was crowned by Formosus as the Holy Roman Emperor. And I did want to mention on the slides here, it is set at 888 CE, which is a little bit later than what we're, actually, it's a little bit before what we're talking about. But I put an arrow where it says Kingdom of Germany. That's where Arnulf was reigning beforehand. That was his territory. And on the right-hand side are some illustrations of Arnulf. He's, if you look on the left-hand sides of both of those, on the crown, looking over the people who are sitting there.
And the people all look alike because, you know, it's that
white
that
people.
Type of art.
Yep. It's just
they all look like ladies or feminists, but yes.
Yes. That was the dress at the time.
And they look like Mother Mary, all of them.
Yeah. So Arnulf crossed the Alps, Rome. He was crowned Holy Roman Empire. Yay, everyone won. Except, like, a few months later, Arnulf's Frankish army left to go back home. And then both Arnulf and Formosus passed away within months of each other. That's also in 896. And it just says they passed away, but probably assisted. After Formosus's death, Pope Boniface the sixth succeeded him, and he passed away 2 weeks later.
Probably assisted.
It was gone. Yeah, more than likely assisted. Meanwhile, Lambert, who I was talking about just before, and his mother, who was Empress Angeltrude, I think is how you say it, entered Rome, and Stephen VI, that's when he became the Pope. So you have all these people who are coming together in Rome, and some people are pissed at Formosus, some people are really happy with it. What did Stephen VI do that was kind of weird and notorious? Well, after he was declared Pope, he had Formosus's body exhumed and subjected it to a posthumous trial. And that is an event that would become known as the Cadaver Synod.
Oh, God. Wow.
And, yeah, we're not done yet.
Holding a grudge.
Oh, just wait. That's just the beginning of everything. The trial took place in Rome at the Basilica of St. John Lateran, which is pictured here. Very beautiful, kind of crappy that such weird stuff happened there. This is also in the Vatican, I should say. There are many basilicas there. The trial was conducted by Stephen and involved dressing the well-dead Formosus in papal vestments and propping his corpse on a throne to face accusations of perjury, violating canon law, and unlawfully ascending to the papacy. Stephen asserted that Formosus, before becoming the Pope, had served as Bishop of Porto and had sworn not to seek the papacy. There was no documentation to really prove that he did that. There was like some historians that said maybe he did, but all the major beef that I talked about previously. God. So this lovely painting.
They really got him dressed up, though.
Yep. The Pope Formosus and Stephen VI, as it says, Jean-Paul Laurent, did this. Is beautiful artwork. I really suggest you do check out our slides. Yeah. Stephen is the guy in the green pointing. Formosus is the very clearly dead person on the throne.
Gosh.
So the bizarre trial saw Formosus's body represented by a deacon. He's pictured here as the one in black, who spoke on his behalf. And I say spoke, but there really wasn't much of a defense the deacon could make. If he spoke too highly of Formosus, then it wouldn't be long before the deacon himself would be a corpse on trial. If you catch my drift.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
And here I must absolutely quote Wikipedia because it is just too good. According to the 10th century historian Liutprand of Cremona, Stephen VI asked Formosus's corpse why he usurped the universal Roman see in such a spirit of ambition after the death of John VIII. Formosus, being several months dead, could not answer. I saw that and I was like, that I know it's Wikipedia, but I gotta quote it because that was just
it's ridiculous. Oh my god.
Just absolutely insane.
It must have smelled so bad.
Oh yeah. And I mean it shows him mostly as kind of like skeletal here, but it was just a couple months after he died. So that's not accurate to what really was happening. I'm sure it won't surprise you to find out that the outcome of the Cadaver Synod was predetermined. The deceased Formosus was found guilty on all charges. And in a horrifying act, his papal vestments were torn from his decaying body. Then he was buried in a graveyard intended only for foreigners. And then he was exhumed again. And his remains were weighed down and thrown into the Tiber River.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. So this event really sparked outrage and shock across the Christian world once they found out about it, and prompted a condemnation and calls for retribution from a lot of people, even people that were kind of on Stephen's side to begin with. Led to widespread unrest, division among clergy and believers, and it persisted long after the trial ended. The legitimacy of Stephen's actions was widely questioned, and the credibility of the church was severely undermined. Meanwhile, according to some, Formosus's body washed ashore and started performing miracles. And I couldn't find any more information about that. But...
I was wondering, like, if they were able to get his body back or not.
They were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely they were.
Okay, I won't ruin that.
No, you're good. So the trial led to a backlash against Stephen. His leadership was challenged, and in 897 CE, so a year after he had been not crowned, but kind of, he eventually met a grim fate, faced a public uprising, and was imprisoned. ultimately strangled to death in prison.
Ooh,
and
goodbye.
no one knows who did it.
It was obviously the joyous, miraculous corpse of. I
Yeah,
can't
he
say his
rose up
name.
and was like,
What is it? Formosus. Formosus. I was like, Formosius.
Well, that kind of sounds more like Latin.
Legit. Right? Yeah. All I can think of is Elmer McCurdy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. We are nearing the end.
No.
The legacy of the synod extended beyond the fate of its main antagonist, Stephen. In December 897 CE, Pope Theodore II, who's all the way on the left-hand side of the slide, organized himself a synod that invalidated the cadaver synod and absolved Formosus of any wrongdoing, directed the reburial of his recovered remains in St. Peter's Basilica, clad in new papal attire. Then, in 898 CE, during the papacy of John IX, who is pictured in the middle, the cadaver synod was once again nullified. John presided over the synods held in Rome and Ravenna, both corroborating the decisions made by Theodore II's synod. So both of these popes were like, nah, this is wrong.
Wow, leave it alone. Just let it be all.
Yeah, these synods ordered the destruction of the cadaver synod's records, excommunicated 7 cardinals implicated in the affair, and prohibited any future posthumous trials. It's sad that you have to write down, like, don't do this. But I guess if you don't,
they will.
Despite these rulings, Pope Sergius III, who's all the way on the right-hand side and looks like an evil bastard, previously involved in the synod, the cadaver synod, as a co-judge during his tenure as a bishop, reversed the verdicts issued by both Theodore and John IX. Sergius III reaffirmed Formosus' guilt or had a commemorative epitaph inscribed on Stephen's tomb, praising his actions during the cadaver synod. Unfortunately, no records are out there of the exact wording of that epitaph. I wanted to find out so bad what it said. So the church found itself plunged into another period of turmoil, with multiple popes claiming authority, resulting in a chaotic period known as the pornocracy, or rule of harlots. And this is kind of like where we get, I don't know how familiar you are, but of people of popes like being assassinated constantly, poisoned, this is all during that period. It gets crazy of like more of the 2-week popes or like few month popes before new ones are killed, or those are killed and the new ones are instated and then they get killed. It's crazy.
Honestly, like, is the Catholic Church just the mafia?
Well,
yeah.
I'm not going to say like everyone in the church is the mafia, but at this time they were certainly there was certainly more of a racket, and very much involved in the politics of the day, and the rule of harlots, pornocracy period of the popes and the Roman Catholic Church could be a whole other WTF episode that I might share later. I'm not sure. But right now I'm feeling like I've said the words church, pope, and cadaver enough for one day. The events surrounding this whole mess catalyzed reforms within the church eventually, I should point out. It prompted a push for stronger regulations regarding the treatment of deceased popes.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a sentence I really wish I didn't have to say. And laid the groundwork for subsequent reforms to prevent such atrocities from recurring. And my final line of my story: and nothing bad happened with the church ever again.
Oh man, the Catholic Church is just like wrecked. It's wrecked itself. I just, the whole time I'm just sitting here and like listening to all of this stuff, and I'm just like, and who's saying that we don't just all make everything up? Like, hello?
Yeah, no, very, very much. Especially back then, there was a period of just like Wild West almost anarchy. Well, I mean, it's the Dark
Yeah.
Ages, so kind of like
Religious anarchy.
they held all the power. They crowned the rulers, so they made all the decisions, and they were kind of above the majority of everything, at least in terms of Western European society was concerned.
So wild.
And part of the reason we had the Dark Ages is because of them.
This was dark. Yeah. Imagine, wonder like that deacon when he went home every night, like, you know, like I wonder what he was talking to his cat about. Like
that deacon, that deacon 100% did not have a cat.
Oh, why?
God, no, absolutely. Well, because cats were
evil.
Evil. Yeah.
Okay. The
ill omens,
mice,
technically, at that time.
The mice inevitably that were in his home.
Yeah.
What was he telling the mice? What kind of, did they have pets then? Like, were there pets? Not really. It was just like livestock, right?
No, they had dogs. And I think there were a few cats, but I don't think anyone in the church would have had a cat or a dog.
Yeah.
They're pretty, forgive the pun, dogmatic about things. But no, absolutely, like lay people, more nobility had pets, but there definitely were. I think I have a book of illuminated manuscripts because, of course, I do.
Of course.
And they have like nobles playing with their pets for sure. They also have like snails wielding javelins too. So
okay,
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff happening back then.
Whatever you believe, you know. I mean, we make it all up, all of us. So as you can tell from your story, we just make it all. And as you can tell from my story, we just make it all up. Everything is not real.
None of it's real in the Poinsettia Manor.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's what is that show?
Whose Line?
Yes, Whose Line? Man, this is wild. It reminds me of the Elmer McCurdy and the whole like cadaver situation and how you have to write it down and say you actually can't use a live dead body for a prop. It's like, oh, you actually can't put a live dead body is what I said. A real dead body, a real dead body as a prop, or a real dead body
as a witness on trial.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, it really. This is why I want to do the episode on blue laws.
Yes, absolutely. That will, dear listeners, that was one of the things Kelsey and I have been talking about, like our interjection episodes or whatever we want to call them. We were thinking about blue laws. If you have any other ideas for fun little like mini episodes or just like breaks from our usual stuff, maybe you're sick and tired of hearing about dead bodies or cadavers or
never
anything like that. Yeah, maybe you want to hear something a little different. Please feel free
tell
to reach out to
us. How can they reach out to us though, Mike?
Oh, there's so many different ways. They could email us, hello at okwtfpodcast.com. They could go to www.okwtfpodcast.com. I have said previously, majority of social medias, but then I think in the last episode that we were talking about, there's really like three. So the TikTok, the Instagram,
YouTube. At OKWTF Podcast. And if you're on the website, there is a form that you can fill out with your own personal story you want to share with us, something you thought about, something you want to see. Just fill it out and let us know what you're thinking. And we'll go from there because this is a lot of fun and we enjoy this. And I think you probably all enjoyed our holiday episode that was focused on I was today years old when. So yeah, blue laws are definitely something I find fascinating. So that's, a vote for those from me, but there's so much out there, this whole world. We've just literally made it all up. So yeah, hit us up.
Hit us up. We want to hear from you.
Fun. Yeah, we want to hear from you. I know you're out there listening. I won't name names, but I know you're there.
We have a quite a active fan base in Ireland.
Yeah, I know. so interesting. I know. Whoever you are in Ireland, please tell us about your stuff. You got to have some real weird stuff going on over there too, right? Historically, currently, whatever.
Yeah. There have been some pretty okay WTF moments in the past 50 years of Irish history, for sure.
Yes, totally. And we can say that
further.
You have Irish in you, right?
Oh yeah, quite a bit.
Me too.
So it was the Joyce line from County Galway.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, you can say this. And I don't know my lineage like you do, but I know I have Irish in me thanks to 23andMe not sponsored.
Perfect.
So, but all that to be said, this was a blast and your story was super creepy. And I can't wait.
Depressing. And
yeah.
I was like, I don't really want to talk about religion again. Unfortunately, it's informed so much of my life. I'm not a practicing person.
And mine, and I'm not practicing and haven't really ever been. And yet, because of how rampant all this made up stuff is, it impacts everybody's life.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah.
More directly to you, but yes.
No, I don't think more directly. I think it impacts everyone.
Well, it definitely, as a woman, it definitely has impacted me.
100%.
In the worst
and
way.
Unfortunately, seems to be continuing to do so until people can do the right thing.
Yeah, which is ironic because isn't religion there to help make the people who can't do the right thing on their own do the right thing?
Yeah, but see, the problem isn't truly, in my mind, with religion. Maybe organized religion. The problem is that religion is practiced by humans. And,
yes.
Religion is kind of a tool that can be a beautiful thing, and just like any tool can be used as a hammer. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you got humans making rules about things and places.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's all made up. But anyway. Well,
yeah, believe in something fun. Like, go against the grain. Like,
you have your whole brain to be able to come up with something. Yeah. That's why I really respect the flying spaghetti monster people, because they really just went there. They just
pastafarians, baby.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Just like get creative, friends. This is all made up. Make it up for yourself. Do something good for people.
So long as you're not harming anyone else or trying to control anyone else, do what you want to.
Yeah. This is our inspirational podcast now.
Yes. Well, if we're talking about dead bodies and wills and doing your own thing.
True. And just doing your own thing. That's all it's about, friends. But well, Mike, until next time, this has been a blast.
It's been a blast from the past for sure.
I'll see you later. Thanks for getting weird with us.
Submit your own OKWTF stories for us to share by visiting www.okwtfpodcast.com.
And stay in touch on all the social platforms at OKWTF Podcast.
Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to OKWTF on your streaming service of choice.
Thank you so much to Out of Flux and Eyal Talmudi for the use of their song Da Boom Jiggle.
And thank you to Bilal Sarwar for their incredible cover art.
Until next time.
We did it again. And hey, this is episode number 10.
Isn't that crazy?
Most podcasts don't make it to this.
To 10?
No.
Really?
It's like if you make it to 10, that's kind of like when, what I've heard, people start actually listening. Because before then you're kind of like, oh, they might make it, they might not. Yeah.
Interesting. So we're here. We're doing it. It's okay, except our own spouses won't listen. So WTF.
Well, I made Amber listen.
Oh,
to
thank you. Thank
the
you
in between. So that
I hope she liked it.
She actually really did. She laughed at quite a few parts.
Oh, good.
So I'm hoping she probably won't listen to this one because church.
You're gonna have to just get in a car with her for all of them and just make her listen.
Well, we're heading to New Jersey.
Exactly.
But she sleeps on the way down for sure.
Well, you're gonna have to tap her and be like, "Nah, girl, you gotta listen. Yeah, you gotta listen to all the ones you missed."
We got 6 hours left, and each episode's about an hour, so you can catch up with us.